CBS Sports recently had their own take on the best transfer portal quarterback fits. I have my own. Let's discuss here on the Portal Podcast Live Show.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day right here on the nation's #1 sports podcasting network, Locked On. We are brought to you today by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. You can have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla cake flavor, caffeinated kick, no sugar. Party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or over at Amazon. We're going to be discussing quarterbacks today. And as we get into the show a little bit later, some of the main things that you look at with quarterbacks, do they simply know the offensive scheme and do they fit? Some of the quarterbacks, they ended up transferring with coaches that they were very successful in. Does it matter? You bet. We'll talk about that a little later in the show. But first, I want to discuss some of the main quarterbacks that I think will be, shall we say, the best fits. And it's not necessarily the best player overall. This is a different category. All these guys are really, really good. If I were to rank the quarterbacks, looking at it, there are different ways to do it. But I think the best fit overall is a little bit different than what CBS had. Their number 5 is my number 1. So again, I hinted at it already. Did you already play in the system? That is a major factor. If you did, it's going to be a more likely scenario for you to be successful. To that end, I don't think there's much doubt about it. Coaches that come over and they can implement their system with their quarterback already in motion, that quarterback becomes an extra coach. So if you take nothing else from this podcast, yes, scheme matters. We'll go into more of it a little later, but that is the biggest thing here. If you bring the coach in, one of the things they ask now in the interviews, hey, who are you bringing with you? If you're bringing your quarterback, that helps tremendously. So here are the quarterbacks, and take it for what it's worth. This is CBS, and there's something to be said for everybody having their own opinion on it, but there's something for everybody to take from this. They had Drew Mastemaker number 1. I have him number 2. Drew came over from North Texas, over 4,000 yards passing, 34 touchdowns. One of the greatest stories you're going to see in sport. Didn't start in high school at Vandergrift High in Austin, Texas. Walks on at North Texas. Redshirts is next year, is this past season. Led the nation in passing. Like, how is that possible? It's a wild story. Number 2, they had Brendan Sorsby. I have him high. I'm curious to see how Tech uses him. Many don't know it, but Sorsby, he's a pretty good runner. I'm going to have his stats up on the screen here in a minute. Number 3, they had Josh Hoover. He's going from TCU to Indiana, where he was originally committed out of high school. There are some questions I have because he tried to force it a lot, but they didn't have much of a run game. He had 13 picks, but very talented quarterback. Sam Levitt, they've got at 4, and Byron Brown at 5. Okay, here's the deal. I don't necessarily think this is a bad list, other than how do you not have, again, Byron Brown. He came with Alex Golish from USF. He has been a starter since the end of his freshman year. How is he not in the top 3? They have him number 5. That's my only real qualm here. And I've got him number 1. Here is my look at it overall for why I think Byram is that guy. This is just what he did this past season statistically. 225 of 342, 65.8%, 3,131 yards, 9.2 yards per attempt. That was tied for like second in the nation with CJ Card, ND. 28 touchdowns, 7 picks. And he's a runner that went over 1,000 yards as well. He's one of like 12 or 14 guys that ever do it. That's pretty impressive. If you're that guy and you come into Auburn, which, by the way, they brought 5 wide receivers from USF as well, they should be able to kind of just walk in, plug and play. And as an additional bonus, and I'm cheating here with this, and it's one of the reasons I rank Brown number 1, his center from USF also transfers to Auburn. That matters. Absolutely, unequivocally, that matters. It will be seamless with the protections as the guy that you're used to helping you call protections, change plays. It's the same guy you were with down in Tampa, Florida at USF. So that's my number one. And I don't think it's that difficult to see why. My number two, I already mentioned him as well, really good, Drew Mastemaker. This is just an incredible story. He was with Coach Morris at North Texas. He heads over to Oklahoma State. This is a tremendous story, but even more importantly, it's just getting started. This could be his last year of college football. Who knows at Oak State? But last year, 320 of 466, 68.7%, 4,384 yards, 9.4 yards per attempt. That led the nation. 34 TDs, 9 picks. Now, he's not as mobile as Byron, and I think that's part of it. It's another reason that I think Brown gets a little bit of an edge. Knowing what your quarterback can do when he's a mobile guy that can really run around like that it's important. Mastemaker can move, but I mean, Byron's a certified animal. Like, he ran for over 1,000 yards, and he's close to 240 pounds. He's a big dude. That's why I kind of look at this a little bit differently. But Mastemaker, first year he did this. Like, imagine if he improved. Like, it's going to be incredible. Curious to see what he does at the Big 12 level. But again, really, really talented. Sticking in the state of Texas, my number three, Brendan Sorsby. Comes over from Cincinnati, 205 or 336, 61%, 2,783 yards, 8.3 average per attempt, 26 scores to 5 interceptions, so 5.2 to 1. That's really, really good. I think that the running ability here is the curious part. He had over 600 yards rushing for the Bearcats in 2025. The quarterback situation for Texas Tech was exposed in the playoff. That's obvious. Is he going to be the second coming of John Elway? No. But at the same time, graduate student who's ironically originally from Texas and a guy that has the ability to make plays on the move when you're going against teams that are going to get a pass rush on you. If you get to the playoff, which Texas Tech should, their schedule this next year is a complete joke. They don't even play BYU. I expect to see Sorsby in a scenario where he's only going to have 2 or 3 pressure-packed moments in the regular season, and he'll deliver. He's proven it. No offense to Cincinnati, but they don't have as much talent. He's not coming over with the same staff, but he's adjusted. He's played at 2 different schools. He was at Indiana, then he was at Cincinnati. He's a veteran. He'll find a way to make them better. And just if nothing else, this is a guy that has found a way to make a team that didn't have near as much talent a more applicable opportunity for them to win each week. Cincinnati was good last year. They were, in the last few weeks of being in the Big 12 title game, he's going to have so much more talent. He will be able to really take that game to the next level because he's throwing to more players that are talented. You'll probably have a better O-line, etc. Running game's good. He's going to do well. Now, as for what I think overall, this is just my list and how I put it. I have 7, and I got a couple that are a little different. I got Brown, Mastemaker, and Sorsby I talked about. I've got Josh Hoover 4th, Sam Levitt, I've got 5th, Jaden Craig at TCU, I've got 6th, and Aaron Philo at 4 to 7. Let me just explain these briefly. Hoover, I trust Sig in Indiana. He committed there originally out of high school. He had 13 picks this past year at TCU. I expect him to step up because, quite frankly, let's be honest, he won't have to throw it as much. Indiana is a run-first offense, and play action is awesome with them. Let's see what they can do. Number 5, Levitt. I would have had him a little higher, but he's going to miss a good portion of spring in terms of like the physical stuff. I'm just curious how much they can implement into the system, and not like Byron Brown or Drew Mastemaker. Levitt is a guy that's coming in from a new system. He was at Arizona State last year. So while I think he fits Kiffin's offense because he can definitely run, he's not going to get the same reps in terms of install, actually doing it. So I have him a little lower. Otherwise, if you wanted to put him in top 3, I would have had no problem. Jaden Craig at TCU might surprise a few people. I just think the guy that's coming over from Harvard, like obviously he's intelligent. He processes well. He's been renowned that way. He's a pretty good sized guy. He's 215 pounds. Is he going to be unbelievable? I don't know. It's a major step up from the Ivy League to go to the Big 12, but his stats are consistent, and I've heard really good things about him. And then Aaron Philo, he comes over with part of the staff from UF, meaning the offense coordinator in particular. He hasn't played much, and this is my wild card. I'm kind of taking a shot on him, but he led the state of Georgia like all time at passing yardage in high school. He's been in college a couple of years. Buster Faulkner is a renowned coordinator. He's going to UF. I think Philo will win the job, but maybe he doesn't. We'll see how that goes. But he's got the opportunity and he knows the system. Again, that is so, so important. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about the systems, how it works. That is next, right here on the Portal Podcast.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. It was a heavyweight showdown between number 3 South Carolina and number 7 LSU, and the Gamecocks rose to the occasion. South Carolina secured a hard-fought 79-72 victory to stay atop the SEC standings, using a balanced offensive attack to outlast the Tigers. Tessa Johnson led the way with 21 points, while Raven Johnson added 19. Medina Okot dominated the paint with a double-double, finishing with 12 points and 17 rebounds, while Joyce Edwards chipped in 10 points to round out the scoring. With the statement win, the Gamecocks now turn their attention to a road matchup at number 23 Alabama on Thursday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you that opportunity to turn that dream into reality with their own NBA sweepstakes. This is how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot for the NBA Finals. A trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience with FanDuel. If you love the opportunity to look at the futures for the NBA Finals, or maybe it's just a conference championship, no problem at all. Check it out. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and get entered for your chance for the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Take your game to the next level with the Everydayer Club down in the description below. $5 a month or $50 for the year. It's the best part of it. Your ads will be eliminated on your audio feed for Locked On the Portal. And to be honest, as much as I'm on the go, I use the audio for every podcast I listen to, and I'm sure many of you do as well. Nobody likes ads. Check it out, the Everydayer Club, down below in the description. Now let's talk a little bit about the system and why I brought that up, and then I'll get into the chat a little bit. Comments, fire away about my takes, by the way. If you like somebody, don't like somebody, go ahead. I don't care if you're on the live show or if you are listening to this later. I'm curious what you think. Is it Mastemaker? Is it Byron Brown? Do you want it to be looked at from a different perspective? And you think even though the Liz Frank injury with Sam Levitt is there, you think he's going to be number one? That's fine. Let's hear your take. But I think that system now is more important than ever. And here's why. With the transfer portal, we're never going to have the consistency we used to. We're just not. The days of seeing Johnny go through for 3 years and sit his butt on the bench, if he's truly talented, not a guy that kind of holding on to a roster spot, they're probably going to move on. So when you have a quarterback go with his coach or coaches from one school to the next, it helps because your window to win is so small. Look at what Sig did at Indiana. He screwed it up for everybody, by the way. If possible, he literally accelerated the expectations for schools, which is bad. He is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of coach. So I don't think we're going to see that again, but the expectations of boosters who are paying a lot of money, fans that are spending more on seat licenses, and then the tickets themselves, and the parking, and then the food, and then the drive, and then the hotel, and all, they do not care. So you need to win right away. When these guys come in, and the transfer portal is hot and heavy with some of these guys that are transferring, it's pretty important they find a way to get them in and get it rolling. And the best way is just, again, they know the system already. I don't see how you can't look at it that way. That's just my opinion. So to each their own, and there are a lot of different ways to evaluate it. But anyway, let's see what we got here. Salty. Bo Nix turned his college career around when he transferred and was coached by Kenny Dillingham. How important is a quarterback whisper to a transfer quarterback success? I think it's the same as it is no matter what. Even if it's a guy that comes with you, either you've got a good quarterback coach or you don't. I'm not going to be specific, but there are some coaches, not just quarterback, that have been at major programs that have screwed it up. There's one in particular. I'm not going to throw him under the bus. I was talking to somebody last night about it. They may have won a national title in the last 3 years, where they had one position. It's not a quarterback coach, but he was so bad at the position he was at, he cost their team a chance at the playoffs. And it matters. But if you're bad at quarterback or even average in terms of coaching, you're not winning a title. It's just not happening, man. All right. Does Miami have a quarterback coach that has a record which suggests that he will elevate Mensa's game, or is Mensa expected to be fully developed upon arrival? A little both. The offensive coordinator at Miami, if you remember back to, I think it was 2012, when West Virginia went bananas, that was the same coordinator. He was at Houston a few years ago when Houston was really good. Miami set in terms of talent at the quarterback position and the coach. Having developed quarterbacks that have led a team to the national title game and been in Notre Dame and still holding quarterback records at Cincinnati, is Gino Guidugli considered an elite quarterback developer? I don't know. I've not asked that around. I don't know if I wouldn't go quite that far, because he just hasn't been around long enough. He's new. You pretty much got to be over 50 years old and done it for 10, 15 years, in my opinion. But he's on that track. I don't know. That's a great question, though. Like, how long does it have to be to qualify? Everybody would have a different answer on that, Salty, but that's a good question. When push comes to shove, does a transfer quarterback with at least 3 seasons of experience, mostly high-value quarterback development, or monetary gain when choosing a school? I would say most of the time it's actually playing time and development, because the money's gotten so good. I don't think the money's that big a deal. I'll give you an example. It's another position, but I know there was a prominent player that had an opportunity to stay closer to home to a program that he liked, but he chose another one for $450,000 less because of the development. To each their own, but I think development and especially playing time are the key, because kids are going to bet on themselves. There are a few exceptions, but by and large, you're going to see players bet on themselves. Which is the best career path? Committing to a blue blood and developed while waiting to start, or committing to a lesser school, starting immediately and transferring to an elite school? The second one's becoming a little more popular, but everybody still wants the Ohio State, Texas, USC kind of offers. You'll see some do it, but the difference with a lot of those second level, and remember, this is football, it's brutal. They usually, not always, but they usually don't have as much NIL to offer. And especially those around those players, they'll tell them to go to the blue blood, not only because it's, Florida or whatever, but the money offer is so much higher. Then if you get hurt, you've got guaranteed money. If it wasn't for that, I think you would see a lot more of the quote unquote mid-level schools. You could see Purdue get a kid over Ohio State because he's going to play. They don't have the same NIL. So unless that changes, I don't think we're going to see a huge difference in what's been going on. Salty, this may be too data poor to answer, but at what round and position in the draft will an elite quarterback make more money playing another college season? I think the first 2 rounds, if I remember correctly now, are guaranteed. Somebody correct me on that if I am wrong. But after the 3rd round or so, I would say it's probably better just to go play college, and it may be just after the 2nd round. We'll see. Katie, for a young quarterback to develop, he has to get in some reps to adjust to the speed of the college game. Nothing else can simulate that. 100%. This is one of the reasons it's not necessarily a bad idea to go like Drew Mastemaker. Now, it wasn't planned because he was a walk-on, but he went to North Texas and played early. It obviously worked out, but there's the risk of injury. So there's a couple of ways to look at that. I like Brown and Levitt because of the head coaches they'll play for. Byron Brown being at Auburn with Ali Scolish, I think that's a great fit, no doubt. Levitt, Kiffin obviously knows mobile quarterbacks, and the guy's motivated. Maybe he would have went to the draft if he hadn't got hurt. For those who don't remember, it was Frank injury after Game 7. He was done. So maybe Sam is a guy that's going to end up playing football for just this 1 year and increasing his stock, but I think he would have been in the NFL already if it wasn't for the injury. Katie, Shannon Dawson is from the Dana Holgerson air raid tree that originated with Hal Mummy. Yes, indeed. Excellent answers. Thanks, Minute. You are absolutely welcome. Katie, I still feel like Philo because of the way he threw the ball at Georgia Tech in 2024 when Haynes King was injured. Philo's got a nice rotation on the football. He's a guy that he can throw it, but he just doesn't have a ton of experience. Are we sure what's going to happen with him? Not really. But at the same time, I can't sit here and complain because, again, he knows the system and he's proven from high school for a guy that I'm going to take a chance on. Again, I put him number 7 overall in my transfer quarterback fit rankings. He's been with the QB coach / coordinator the last couple of years at Tech. Now they're at Florida. It's same system. He's got a chance to be really good. When we come back, we're going to continue on with this, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about why I think quarterback this year is just going to be fun in college football. That is next year on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by TurboTax, and it is tax season, but doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. And let's be honest, nobody likes doing their taxes, and taking that pressure off is a big part. And with TurboTax Full Service, you can do that because you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert beginning to end without the stress or the guesswork. They handle everything, whether it's a W-2, 1099, whatever it is, your deductions, while you get to work and get things done. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February the 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local. That is TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. We are also brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to make the top spot. I'm a traditional guy. I like cherry. I like grape. I like basic things like that. Hawaiian's fine too, but they also have some interesting flavors that you can check out. And birthday cake's a popular one. It's coming back. Strawberry banana is available. I have a sleeper for you as well, and you can take this as you want. Pomegranate. I think pomegranate is a flavor that is really good. And they also have blue raspberry. That's another one that I like, even on snow cones. So find your new favorite flavor at 5 Hour Energy, and they're available online at 5hourenergy.com or at Amazon. All right, the final part of the show today is pretty straightforward. We're going to see more portal quarterback emergence. Let me give you an example. Kenny Minchey almost went to Nebraska. He transfers from Notre Dame to Kentucky. Very talented. He'll be his 4th year college football, even though he's barely played. A lot of pressure. Aaron Philo talked about him. He transfers from Georgia Tech to Florida. There's still a lot of pressure. How does this work? What is the expectation? What else do we think needs to happen? Because there are a lot of different guys. We're not sure how it's going to work. And then there's also like Caden Hauser. He's going from ECU to Illinois. No offense to East Carolina, but that's not the same level as the Big Ten. Threw for a bunch of yards. Pretty mobile guy. But how do you put that expectation into a sheet, like a spreadsheet or just your basic comments? I think this is the fun part of the offseason. There's a lot of different ways you can look at it. Let's use Minchey for an example. I saw him at the Elite 11 finals in 2022 in Los Angeles. Elite in terms of processing. From talking to people there, he was the best guy at the event on the chalkboard. That never goes out of style. Secondarily, he's got a very natural delivery and he's mobile. He can make guys miss and he's athletic enough. He can do a backflip. He's one of those guys that is simply going to make players miss. And in the SEC, that's pretty important. He's another guy that I think it will work out well. Stein is coming over from Oregon. They throw a lot of screens, a lot of quick passing game, get ahead of the chains. I think Minchey will be that guy. I'm not sure about pushing the ball down the field, but because of the scheme, I think that's another fit. There's a little bit of a gap. You got to learn the system, but watch out for him. And I also think, again, Philo at Florida, that's fine. But anybody that has come over that at least similar offenses from one school to the other, may not be the same coordinator, may not be the same quarterback coach, that will help. If you can't get a coach to come in because you're just looking for a quarterback and your head coach, et cetera, stay in, you're going to see more and more of this. I think Minchey with Will Stein is probably about as good as it gets in this regard, but it's your second best opportunity to hit the ground running. Again, Sig changed college football. Year 2, they won a title. I think they had 7 players out of high school that were ranked 4-star. Like there may never be anything like that again. They hit the inside straight. They won every close game, including the Penn State game, the Iowa game, the first Oregon. They could have lost 3 games in the regular season, and then they won every close game in the playoff. Total inside straight, but they still set the bar. Everybody's got to find that perfect quarterback moving forward, and the scheme and the fit is everything. If you don't have it, you're probably going to struggle because people aren't going to sit here and say, oh, it's year 1. It was a learning thing. They're spending all that money to go to those games, to donate, put their names on buildings. You have to win in year 1 with a big name transfer quarterback. Even if it's a kid, again, like Minchie, highly recruited Elite 11 guy, just got beat out by CJ Carr. They're not going to wait. They're not. DJ Lagway, he was beat up last year at Florida. He's going to his dad's alma mater at Baylor. Do you think Baylor's faithful cares about that? He better produce. Dave Aranda's on the hot seat as it is. Seems like every year. If they don't win with DJ, probably not going to work real well for Dave. You've got to find a way to win when you go out and spend money on a portal quarterback, regardless of the fit. It's not necessarily fair, but you're going to see, in my opinion, more guys looking for just fit so they can hit the home run instead of the long-term guy like an elite 5-star kid who didn't play as a freshman. You might take somebody that's got 2 years of eligibility, but they're a redshirt sophomore, have a really good year, and you went through the system. Maybe it's in an FCS school. Maybe it's a MAC school. Maybe it's Sun Belt. Maybe it's the bottom of the SEC, whatever. But you're proven, and the system's similar. Just something to look forward to over the next few years. What else we got here in the chat? Let's see. Katie says Philo has played in meaningful games, and lest you forget, he and Haynes King together beat Miami. That was wild last year. Philo can throw it. I need to see him take the pounding, be schemed against, not when film gets out and all that to completely believe it. But again, I had him number 7. He just doesn't have as many reps. And like, by the way, just shout out to Haynes King. That guy was an absolute leader and a warrior. If there was ever a guy that just threw his body into the pile more, my goodness, I'm not sure exactly who that would be. Over like 2-3 year window, like that's incredible. So shout out to Haynes King, but that's one of the reasons that Aaron Philo got a chance to play. Katie, Coach Hayes made a good point saying to develop a young quarterback, teams have to accept they may go 8-4, 9-3 a year or two to do it. And teams and fans don't have that kind of patience. 100%. Coach Hayes is a good guy. I think there's a lot to be said from this statement, and it's something I just mentioned a moment ago. People don't want to hear it, especially the ones that have dug deep into their pocket to hand over that money. Indiana did it. Why aren't we? So again, it's a very difficult scenario, and I don't think there's a whole lot you're going to do about it, but you got to find a way. Even if you don't have your quarterback coming in with a scheme that's exactly the same or even close, if you take a transfer quarterback, the expectations, they're really changed. I still have Byron Brown, number 1 for me, Drew Mastemaker, number 2. They have their same head coach from one school to the next. I'm pretty good with that. Sorsby, I've got number 3. I think he's the possible elixir that gets Texas Tech over the top in the playoff to at least win against a quality opponent. I don't know if they can win it next year. They lose Rodriguez and some of those key defenders, but their defense is going to be good again. They got 7 transfer portal D linemen again. I got Sorsby 3rd. So I'm pretty steadfast that system matters, but the players around you do as well. So Levitt, etc. There are a lot of really good players to discuss. Josh Hoover, you can rank them however you want, but this has been a fun exercise. I hope everybody enjoyed. We will see you again soon, right here on the Portal Podcast.